What up, YouTube? T-Movies here with a new horror film out this week called Come to Daddy. Since it is a horror film that stars famed child actor Elijah Wood, I decided to go ahead and do my top 10 favorite Elijah Wood movies. Because I've always been a fan of him. I mean, he is he started out acting at a very young age. I mean, I believe his first feature was Back to the Future 2, if I'm not mistaken, or was it the first one of the two? And since then, he's been doing some interesting genres, from horror to fantasy, comedies, crime. And Elijah Wood have always been a really tragically underrated actor. So, with that being said, here are my top 10 favorite Elijah Wood movies. Alright. Coming in at number 10, I'm going to go with a film called Green Street Hooligans. Now, this film was directed by Lexi Alexander, who's pretty primarily big with TV now. But back then, she directed Wood in this sport-based movie called Green Street Hooligans, and in it, it's about this American journalism student named Matt Bruckner, played by Wood, who ends up moving in with his sister and her family in London, and there he ends up meeting this football hooligan named Pete Dunham, played by Charlie Hunnam, a couple years before Sons of Anarchy fame, and so Pete ends up introducing him to like rough tribal worlds, and where supporters of opposing teams end up battling each other before and after games, and so Pete's lieutenant named Boover, played by Leo Gregory, ends up suspecting Matt's motives, and adversely reopens a 12-year-old rivalry between Pete's brother, played by Mark Warren, and the leader of the rival gang, played by Jeff Bell. And this is a really nice. It is a coming of age tale. Elijah Wood and Charlie Hunnam were really both excellent in this. I mean, this film actually got released years before Charlie Hunnam became a well-known name with Sons of Anarchy. I believe this was like one of his breakthrough roles, and Charlie Hunnam was terrific. It's a nice sport movie. If you guys haven't really seen Green Street Hooligans yet, it's a really decent one. Alright. Coming in at number 9, I'm going to go with the film titled Everything is Illuminated. Now, it stars Elijah Wood as this young Jewish American man who is obsessed with his family history. And so Wood plays... and Wood's character is named Jonathan Safran Fiora, who decides to journey to the Ukraine to find out more about the life of his grandfather. And he's guided by this rap-obsessed local named Alex, played by Eugene Holtz. And Jonathan ends up venturing into the heartland of the Ukraine, seeking to shed the light on the events that occurred to his grandfather during World War II. And so, joining Jonathan and Alex in the latter's Surly is the grandfather, played by Boris Leskin, and his dog name, who's literally named Sammy Davis Jr. So there's that. And Elijah Wood, this is one of his finest performances. It really showed him his capability as an actor, and Elijah Wood was amazing. Now, this movie got released in 2005, and it's not really a movie that lots of people really remember today, but it's actually really good. Great performances by Wood, by the other cast. If you guys never really seen Everything is Illuminated, go check it out. I mean, it's also directed by Liev Schreiber, so there's that too. Alright, coming in at number 8, I'm going to go with Happy Feet. Now, Happy Feet was the Oscar-winning animated film with a great voice talent. You've got great music. You had the voice talents of Robert Williams, Brittany Murphy, Steve Irwin even had a voice talent in this. And really terrific animation. And not to mention Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman, Hugo Weaving. This had a really solid voice cast. And in it, Wood voices this young emperor penguin named Mumbo, who lives in Antarctica, who ends up losing his natural ability to sing and the talent necessary for mating. And so, like after being dropped out by his dad before he was hatched, instead he can tap dance, and a talent that labels him as a misfit and causes the elder penguins to reject him and all. And
What's good, Hollywood? Yeah, well, yeah, I knew it.
And not to mention, he falls for another penguin named Gloria, voiced by Brittany Murphy, who could also sing really well. I mean, Happy Feet did, like I said, won it won the Oscar for best animated film, and it was actually I believe it was actually Warner Brothers' first film to win best the animated category, so that was pretty cool. It had great choreography, especially for an animated flick. You also had the song "My Way," and got some really great songs that was featured in this. Great animation, and Elijah Wood ended up reprising his role for the sequel, which was Happy Feet 2, which is actually not all that bad. Not as good as the first Happy Feet, but pretty decent. Like, if you guys never really seen Happy Feet yet, give it a go. It's a really solid animated flick. Alright. Coming in at number 7, I'm going to go with Deep Impact. Now, this movie got released in a weird time, because this film literally got released in the same year as Armageddon. So, yeah, I mean, Deep Impact and Armageddon literally got released around the same year, and they both were like natural disaster-based movies. And you got Elijah Wood as this young teen named Leo, who's this amateur astronomer spy who ends up spying on he's not a spy, but he ends up spying on a unusual object in the sky, and it turns out to be a comet hurling towards Earth. And he ends up taking a picture of the drowning object and sending it to the astronomer, who ends up dying in a car accident before he can send out a warning. And so you got panic attacking, there's panic attacks placed all over the world when word gets out that there might be a asteroid, heading towards Earth. You got Morgan Freeman as Morgan Freeman was the president. A great cast too. You had the likes of Robert Duvall, Taya Leone. It was directed by Mimi Leder, who did a great job at directing. You even had Lily Sobieski, who was really terrific. I mean, it's a really terrific film. I probably prefer Armageddon over this, but it was really still it's more of a guilty pleasure film, but it's still pretty fun to watch. I mean, like I said, this movie got released around the same year as Armageddon, and yeah, that was a weird time. Like, it's always weird when some of the same type of movies comes out the same year. I mean, remember when Dante's Peak and Volcano got released in the same year? Then there was a Bug Life and a Volcano. Yeah, Deep Impact and Armageddon was the same solution. But if you guys never really seen Deep Impact, go check it out. And it made me want to see Morgan. It really will. I'll totally love to see Morgan Freeman as another president. Anyway, coming in at number 6, I'm going to go with Flipper. Now, Flipper is a remake, was a reboot of a 1960s or 70s TV series, and it stars Elijah Wood as this young Chicago teenager named Sandy Ricks, who has a very difficultly time adjusting after his parents' divorce. And so he ends up taking a vacation, and so he ends up spending the summer with his uncle, played by Paul Hogan, a.k.a. Crocodile Dundee. This is probably no, I'm not going to lie, this is actually probably my favorite Paul Hogan role that is not titled Crocodile Dundee. He's actually really solid in this, and shows he could do more than just Crocodile Dundee. Anyway, and so here you got Sandy, who also befriends with this dolphin named Flipper, and he also befriends with a neighborhood girl played by Jessica Weston. And Flipper is one of those, this and Free Willy, both were both films that got released in the 90s, and show the love of sea creatures, whether you talk about a love for a whale or a love for a dolphin. And probably one of the most And definitely one of the most intense moments has got to be the dolphin fighting off against a shark. I mean, that is one of the most intense moments I've seen in a movie. But yeah, Flipper is really it's actually a childhood favorite. I remember watching this thing as a kid and really enjoying it then. It's been a while since I've seen Flipper, but yeah, if you guys never really got a chance to see Flipper, do yourself a favor, go check it out. Flipper is the best. I mean, they don't make animal movies like they did in the 90s. You know, they had Flipper, Free Willy, Babe. Boy, they really don't make animal movies. Alright. Coming in at number 5, I'm going to go with Sin City. Now, Sin City is based on the book by Frank Miller, directed by Robert Rodriguez. And it does take, and they're all different stories all rolled into one. And Wood ends up playing this against type in one of the segments titled The Hard Goodbye. And he plays this character named Kevin, who's this cannibal who is hunted by Mickey Rourke's character Mob after he ends up killing his prostitute lover, Goldie, in his bed. And so Kevin, is this a real gem or not? And he's also one who ends up stashing the head of his slain victims in his basement. And this is one of the most weirdest. It's raining. Gotta go pet out. Sorry about that, guys. Got a movie here. Anyway, alright. As I was saying, in Sin City, this was a real weird role. Like one of the most intense roles I've ever seen out of Elijah Wood. You know, he's like a cannibal. He's like a straight up killer. Yeah, definitely not the Elijah Wood you're ever used to seeing. And I should mention, you got Rutger Hauer was also in this. I mean, man, if you guys never really seen Sin City by now, do yourself a favor, go watch Sin City. Great cast members, like you've got the likes of Jessica Alba, you've got the likes of Mickey Rourke, Bruce Willis, Clive Owen. Yeah, Sin City is hands down awesome. And I actually didn't mind Dane to Kill For, by the way. I know there's so many people who hate Dane to Kill For. I thought Dane to Kill For was pretty decent. Anyway, Greta Wood was in that one, I'm just saying. Alright, number 4, I'm going to go with Eternal Sunshine. Speaking of actors playing against type, you got Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet who plays. You got Winslet who portrays Clementine, while you got Jim Carrey portraying this inhabited guy named Joe, who ends up being on a train from Montauk to Rockville Century, and they end up being drawn to one another. And it turns out that both of them had their memory errors, and proceed from a company called Louisiana. And so you got Elijah Wood, who portrays the Lucina Tekkanen Patrick, who tries to get close to Clementine to pretending to be Joe and all. And Elijah Wood was terrific. I mean, his scenes with Kate Winslet was pretty decent. This is actually one of the most different roles you'll ever see out of Jim Carrey. Very different role from him. It's very dark, dramatic. If you guys haven't really seen Eternal Sunshine, it's part romance. I guess you could say it's part sci-fi too in a weird way. But yeah, Eternal Sunshine is a really good one. And directed by Michelle DeGondry, so one more key ask for there. Alright. Coming in at number 3, I'm going to go with The Ice Storm. Now, this takes place in the 1970s, where these two upper-class families living in Connecticut in 1973 ends up becoming unraveled by the secret affair between Ben Hood, played by Kevin Kline, and Janie Carver, played by Sigourney Weaver. And so as the adults end up embracing the unsuccessful drinking and sexual experiment affecting their behavior children, you've got Elijah Wood, who becomes who has an interesting relationship with one of the young daughters in this, played by Christine Ricci. And this, like, their relationship is very weird to watch. But that aside, The Ice Storm, directed by Ang Lee, is terrific. Based on a book. A great cast. You also got the likes of Tobey Maguire. You have Katie Holmes is in this. Joan Allen. Amazing movie. If you guys haven't really seen The Ice Storm yet, go check it out. I mean, lots of these characters are mainly stuck in an ice storm throughout the rest of the film. And it's also a dysfunctional family these movies choose now. Alright. My number 2 favorite Elijah Wood movie goes to the horror thriller The Good Son. The Good Son stars two of the best young, former child stars, Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin. And you got Elijah Wood, who portrays Mark, who's this young boy who ends up losing his mother. And so he must stay with his family while his father's away on business. And so, Mark ends up being acquainted with his young cousin, Henry, played by Macaulay Culkin. But things get really insane. And it turns out that Henry is not really the sweet, innocent kid, as most people make out to be. I mean, he literally tried to kill his own sister in this. He tried to kill his own mother. He tried to kill a freaking dog. But this movie literally got released after. Anyway, as I was saying, this movie actually got. Anywho. The Good Son got released literally a year after Home Alone 2 got released, and it really showed that Macaulay Culkin was officially done with Kevin McAllister. And Elijah Wood, this was one of his earliest breakout roles, and he nailed it. The scenes between him and Macaulay Culkin was insane. You also had Wendy Malick was also in this. This movie is terrific. It's really creepy, terrifying. One of Macaulay Culkin's most creepiest roles you'll ever want to see. I mean, he's definitely not Kevin McAllister in this movie at all, and he nailed it. If you guys haven't really seen The Good Son, do yourself a favor, check it out. Granted, you're not going to want to look at it Kevin McAllister the same way, because he's not Kevin McAllister in this. Alright. My number 1 favorite Elijah Wood movie, there is. Obviously, his best work is literally the Lord of the Rings trilogies, as the role of Frodo. This is really his most iconic role to date. In Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, where he portrays the role of the iconic character Frodo, going on an infamous journey. I don't think there could be any other actors who could portray Frodo as well as Elijah Wood did. He portrayed that role with such task. He played that role perfectly. Peter Jackson directed him great in that movie. And he worked great with other notable actors. He worked with Orlando Bloom, Viggo Mortensen, Cate Blanchett, Sean Astin, Liv Tyler, Andy Serkis. And he ended up reprising his role in one of the other Lord of the Rings movies, one of the prequels. I believe it was the first prequel. In a way, I still would love to see him maybe reprise his role as Frodo for the Lord of the Rings series, but I don't think that's happening. But, couple of lots of Lord of the Rings movies ended up getting Oscar nomination for Best Picture. I believe one of them won for Best Picture. I was never really the world's biggest Lord of the Rings fan, but I still acknowledge of how good movies they were, and great cast. I'll say if you guys never seen them, go give them a shot. Like I said, I kind of prefer Harry Potter over the Lord of the Rings movies, but I still really appreciate them. So, and to me, Frodo is Elijah Wood's best role. Alright. That's pretty much it. Alright. Let me do the quick rundown. 10. Green Street Hooligans. 9. Everything is Illuminated. 8. Happy Feet. 7. Deep Impact. 6. Flipper. 5. Sin City. 4. Eternal Sunshine. 3. The Ice Storm. 2. The Good Son. And number 1 is Lord of the Rings. Alright. Now, there's loads of other movies I probably could have, that Elijah Wood has been, that I could have added. Oh yeah, he appeared in the Back to the Future 2. Nice. He was in the movie Maniac, the remake of the horror film. He was in The Last Witch Hunter, which wasn't good. He was in The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Have you guys ever seen the horror movie Cooties, where these kids are possessed? That movie is really good. He was in that movie Open Windows with Sasha Grey. He was in the Oxford Murders, the Trust with Nick Cage, The Piano he was in, Grand Piano with Nick Cage, Pawn Shop Chronicles he was pretty good in, Oliver Twist. He was in that movie Mandy, also with Nick Cage. He's been some pretty good stuff, and he's been more actually heavier as a producer more than an actor. So there's that. But let me know to you guys. What are some of your favorite Elijah Wood movies? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is Team Movies signing off.